For the announcements on the injury front, I'm going to have my knee replaced December 2nd. No, I'm just kidding. I am actually.
And how many times?
We can talk about it because I know the guy we're talking about. So.
How many times is that now?
It'll be the first one.
Oh,
that's not bad.
It's not bad at all. Exactly. It's obviously fantastic to be here on a Tuesday, being undefeated at home, coming off a game in which we played with some pretty good clarity for a while. We penalized ourselves and hurt ourselves with negative plays, as a young team is going to want to be. And I can't say we're young. We play one senior on offense. That's called young. Defensively, we're a little older, and the penalties we got on defense are acceptable and livable. We will make adjustments as we go down the road with all of those. So we just can't, drive the car, like a kid, 12-year-old kid trying to drive around the parking lot. Trying to drive that manual transmission. We were fit, start, fit, start, fart, stip, fart, whatever. Anyway, at any rate, boys, we were trying to get it all done at the same time. Overall, I like the way we're building ourselves. We're pretty fast now on defense. Our recognition is much better. We're playing a lot of guys. We played 34 guys on defense on Saturday in meaningful opportunities, which means we're playing quite a bit of our depth, and that's really cool for us. Offensively, we played without Luke, and hopefully Luke will be able to return this week. He's an integral part of how we attack defenses in the middle of the field, although we did a nice job last week with the unveiling of Brock Malcolm. We got a chance to get on the field for the first time. So Justin played outstanding. There were times when he had open green in front of him, but yet he opted to hold onto the ball and throw it to check down receivers, which is good. It's a good sign for us. It keeps him upright, keeps him healthy. Yet his run for a touchdown really kind of spurred us along. So I like the decision making he's making. I think if he continues to grow, he can be one of the elite quarterbacks in the United States.
You said you played 34 guys on defense on Saturday. Was that a microcosm of the team you were playing, or is that the plan going forward?
That's our plan. Our plan is to play as many guys as possible. About 6-7 years ago, Bobby Houck at the University of Montana really started rotating their defense a lot, and they're playing great. They're playing two sets of safeties every game, all the time, regardless. And I'll be darned if 3 of those 4 guys aren't in the NFL now. So the one thing we do is game reps are so crucial to your player development all along. So we're going to play. For example, we played 9 defensive linemen in a 3-man front. That's 9 guys, and that's pretty cool. And we played 13 linebackers in a 4-linebacker look. That's a lot of guys. In the secondary, we played everybody that we could except for a couple of younger guys who are not quite ready to go. So everybody that suits gets a chance to play scrimmage downs, not just kick teams. And I think that's just indicative of how much deeper and better we are from a year, how much stronger and more physical and more confident we are as a coaching staff that the guys who are on the field are able to make plays.
Mike, you were talking about, you had mentioned briefly the penalties last week. As you looked at the tape and you broke everything down, do you think the majority of the penalties were caused simply because of mistakes or fatigue?
Well, I think they were just great calls by the officials. Great calls, fantastic calls by the officials. Fantastic.
You mentioned that you have a young team, you have a young offense, obviously. Going in to play a ranked opponent, one of the loudest stadiums in the nation, is your preparation any different, knowing that they're so young and trying to avoid getting there and having their eyes be huge and kind of being overwhelmed by the moment? Or
well, I've done this quite a bit. When I was at Eastern and at Montana State, we did this quite a bit, going to these big stadiums with a football team from a different classification, and you're trying to not only weather the facility and the crowd, but the ability of the team that's on the field against you. So all we can really control is those 11 guys that are lined up against us. Everything else is just detritus. And we just have to shut that out and not worry about it. The field's still 100 yards long and 50-some yards wide. It's still 60 minutes of football, and we got to play as hard as we can on every down. And I know it's a little bit of cliche. It's not necessarily who we play, it's how we play. And I think we want to be pretty mindful of that, simply because you come out of the aggravation of what we called last season to this season. It's just a matter of opportunity for us this Saturday to play 4 more quarters before we go into the Big Sky Conference. I know they're a great football program. They have a great tradition. every program kind of feels that way about themselves. They have great players. Every program says, hey, we got really great players. So whether it's Washington, Wyoming, or Washatuckna, which is a small town in eastern Washington, we want to play great, and we want to play as hard as we can and as well as we can, as long as we can.
You mentioned last year how that Nebraska game was kind of the turning point of the season, and that kind of went downhill. What do you need to do to make sure that this Washington game doesn't have the same effect?
Well, the cool thing for us is a number of the guys on our team are from the state of Washington and have been in Husky Stadium and have played against a lot of the guys that the Huskies will put on the field. So there's some familiarity with who they are and how they're going to play. Whereas when we played Nebraska, they might as well have been from Mars as far as our guys knew, and the facility is something those guys had only seen on television. So even though it's the University of Washington, and even though it's New Husky Stadium, we would just won't be in awe of being in Seattle. That's a good part of it. And how fast the Huskies play and how hard they play and how much ability they've got, that's up to them. They control that. What we control is the fact that, hey, we're going to be mindful of it's our third game of the year. It's our first road trip. It's an opportunity for us to get better in the kicking game, avoid the calamitous penalties that have besieged us through these two ball games. It's an opportunity for us to play fast against an opponent that's going to play fast. There's just positive, 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 positive as we gird ourselves for the Big Sky Conference.
Mike, we're going to talk today for our halftime interview with Trevor Spence, since we can speak with defensive players now. That's not a shot. We can talk with defensive players, so we're going to talk to Trevor about the defense. Can you tell me a little bit about Trevor as far as what he contributes to your program and how he's performed this year?
Well, again, Trevor is emblematic, really, of what an Idaho guy can mean to your program. A local guy, a small town guy, a walk-on who earned a full scholarship, served his apprenticeship as a backup, went on the field last year as an every down player and played his guts out even when the world was crashing in around him. Was a great leader, is a great leader in the classroom, a great leader in the locker room, a great leader in the weight room. He embodies everything you want in a guy in your program, whether he's from Idaho, Indiana, or Iowa. So proud to have Trevor with us. The fact that he's from Aberdeen, I think he's from South Aberdeen, gives him a chance to be, a great player for us and gives us a lot of fan interest. But it's also a badge that we wear, and we wear him like a badge. He and Mitch Beckstead, we go out and David Forrester, we go out into the small towns of Idaho to recruit. We say, hey, look at us. Look who's playing for us and playing well for us, and Trevor Spence is one of those guys.
Coach, you talked about you have quite a few players from the state of Washington. There's a familiarity with some of the Washington players. Talk about outside of the game. Is there going to be a lot of family there, a lot of excitement for these kids going back home?
Oh, I think we face that same problem whenever we go to California because we've got a lot of California guys. So the battle. Coach James, who used to be the head coach at the University of Washington, taught me a lot about playing and gamesmanship. I remember he always used to say that the biggest game that they played in Southern California was in the lobby. Because all the kids' parents, they haven't seen them for a month or month and a half, and the parents are there, the girlfriends are there, the brothers and sisters are there, and everybody's hugging and crying and talking about what's going on. You lose a little sight of the game, and the big game is played in the lobby in some of these venues we get to go to, and hopefully our guys will keep them sequestered, and they'll be able to give a full accounting of themselves on Saturday at 12 o'clock Pacific time.
Mike, do you have any type of relationship with the Washington coaching staff or with Steve?
Well, I've known Dan Cazzetto, their offensive line coach, since our playing days in Idaho together. He's an outstanding coach, and a lot of the guys in that coaching staff I'm very familiar with. We spent a lot of time in Seattle, not only around the Seahawks, but around the University of Washington. Good guys. I was thinking about this today. You think of the programs in the United States where, the legendary coaches have taken control of that program. Coach Meyer is taking control of the Ohio State program. He went from Utah to Florida to Ohio State. Well, Steve Sarkisian took the job at Washington when Washington was at the bottom. He's truly built a program. And there are some coaches, Chris Peterson, he's not ever had to take over a program yet where you're starting at 0.0. And I just think the coaches that have ever had to do that as head coaches, they've got stories to tell that other coaches that are known as great coaches still don't know yet. And Steve Sarkisian knows that, having taken over a Washington program that was completely decimated. And so what they've built today to become nationally ranked and a team with considerable talent, a team that will be a player in the run for the Pac-12 title, he's seen some rough times, and he's built some things behind the scenes that maybe other coaches that are more nationally thought of still don't ever have to worry about.
So do you see him and see some things you can use when helping to build Idaho State?
Yeah, I think because this is my second time really building the program. I could see them doing things that we've done in other programs as we've built them, and very similar things they're doing right now that we're also doing in our program. We're just a couple of years behind the growth that the Huskies have been able to enjoy as Steve has driven his program to such a lofty stature today.
Coach, what does Washington do on the field that you might or you will see later from the Big Sky teams that you can tell your players to look for this? What do they do?
Well, very good at quarterback. Just very outstanding, accurate play at quarterback and go fast, up tempo pace. Excellent at tailback, where Bishop Sankey, as out of Gonzaga Prep in Spokane, has proven that he's one of the nation's elite players, and very swift at linebacker and in the secondary and in the defensive front. We'll see a lot of the mixes and twists, a lot of familiarity or a lot of similarity between the way Nebraska played against us last year and the way Washington will play against us this coming Saturday. They'll sub out their big defensive linemen and play more speedy guys in the front, make it a twist-a-thon and try and confuse our offensive line as they try to get upfield and put as much pressure on Arias as possible.
And how does that help your players seeing that stuff going forward?
No question. I think the greatest growth in our program will be on the flight home Saturday night, because we'll have played against one of the nation's elite programs. We'll have played well at times, and we'll have made mistakes at times, and the game will slow down for us as we play the bulk of our schedule outside of BYU down the road. The Big Sky Conference just will not be as fast as the way the Huskies will play against us Saturday afternoon.
Tell me a little bit more about Bishop Sankey. The defense struggled against the run last year. Now you have the nation's leading rusher in Bishop Sankey.
Yeah, you look at their numbers and you go 600 yards of offense a game against Illinois and Boise State. And what are we going to do to be able to slow that down? How can we be a factor? Well, obviously we've got to make sure we're mindful of our gaps and play off of gaps and get to the ball, get off of blocks. I mean, I think their offensive line play is simply outstanding. They've not been able to use Austin Safarian-Jenkins, their All-American tight end, who's out with a minor hand unavailability. But they're very talented wide receiver, and they got big strike ability because the quarterback can really, really play, and he throws a fastball. I mean, he throws a fast, accurate pass on the outside and has good mobility in himself. So, again, it's a matter of playing team defense against every single player on the field, not just focusing in on what Bishop can do. And I was at Washington State University when we were recruiting Bishop Sankey, and he was committed to be a Cougar. He decommitted and went to the University of Washington. It's just meant nothing but good for the Huskies and really good for Bishop, because he's established himself as an elite player in their offense, and he will get a lot of attention. But we're probably more impressed overall with Keith and his ability at quarterback to be able to spread the ball around.
Expectations for your team this weekend?
Enjoy the ride home and knowing how much better we are. I mean, we'll do nothing but get better in this game, Jeff. I mean, it'll be ugly at times, and it'll be great at times. It'll be, we have an opportunity to get in there and fight and play as hard as we can and make that thing close and get it into the fourth quarter, and who knows. Also, we have an opportunity to learn in every series. Every series will just do nothing but make us better. I want our guys to come off the field after every series and say, hey, look, I put that in the bank. This is good. This is what I learned. Now, in next series, can I play better and do some things that maybe I haven't done before in my career? Because so many guys are really in only their third start, especially on offense.
Anything else for Coach?